Hello again, and how are we all? Okay, so in my last video I said I'd be doing a setup video for the Elgato Game Capture. Now, the Elgato Game Capture HD, you can use it with a lot of consoles, even the Sega Genesis, Super NES, PlayStation 2, GameCube, the like. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to show you how to set it up with the PlayStation 3. The first method of connecting the Elgato Game Capture to your PlayStation 3 is through the cables you get with the device itself. So, naturally, of course, you're going to be needing your Elgato Game Capture. And the cables we are going to be needing for this is one HDMI cable for connecting to your TV. There's your D-Link cable, which you're going to need to interface with the Elgato, and of course your PlayStation 3, and this is how we do it. So here is my basic setup. I've got my TV right here, a 24-inch full LCD TV, and of course my PlayStation 3. Just move that controller over there. Now, I mentioned before that we will need a HDMI cable, but I've already got mine plugged into the back of my PlayStation. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that out and put it here until we need it. Okay, next thing is to grab our Elgato. Get that out and ready. Stick that over there. Right, there's our Elgato in position. Next, we're going to be taking this, the D-Link cable. First of all, we're going to plug this into the back of the Elgato, right here in the AVGN in. AVM. Right, now what we do is plug this thing into the back of the PlayStation. We have to move that out a little bit because there's a little cramp back here. Now, the outlet for this cable should be right next to the power supply. That's in. Then we take our HDMI cable from our TV and plug it into the HDMI out here on the front of the Elgato. So the signal from the cable goes through the Elgato and of course through the TV. The last step is to take the USB cable that you also get supplied with the Elgato into the USB outlet here, and naturally this will go into your computer, into the USB. As you heard, it's now all connected, but this is only the beginning. First of all, TV on. Make sure we've set it to the right source. Yep, HDMI 1, which is where my PlayStation goes through. Now, originally this PlayStation was set to HDMI output. If you're wondering how to do that, change the out, all you do is press and hold the on switch on your PlayStation until you hear a second beep. Like so. Now, when that beep sounds, it means it's detected a new output. And as we will see in a couple of minutes, it will flash up and it should automatically go to 576i for resolution and output. And there we have it, it's connected. But this doesn't finish the connection process. We've still got a little bit to do because we have our Elgato and everything linked up, but we're not getting the kind of resolution we could be getting. So that leads me to our next point. So with everything connected, this is what we should be seeing. This is in the Elgato game capture software itself, which you can download from their website. Now, as you can see on screen, we do have the output coming in. Whatever's going on with the PlayStation is coming through. But like I was saying, we're not getting the kind of resolution we could be. So what we have to do next is to go down to display settings. And now what you want to do is go to the very top option, video output settings. And we are changing the connector from S-Video to D-Terminal. Go ahead and change. Now your TV should go off for a couple of seconds while it reconfigures itself. And you'll want to click yes when it pops back up. Now what we want to do is to select the kind of resolutions we want to use. Personally, I do not pick 1080p, mainly because for the Elgato actively encodes the footage that is coming through it. So there's about a 2-second delay between what's on your TV and what you could be seeing here in the software. So personally, like I say, I go for 576p, 720p and 1080i. Simply because these have a tendency to encode a bit faster. And we go to right, and that will save our settings. And we want to click yes. So now we're getting the resolution we want. And then we go to finish because we don't want to mess with the audio settings. And there we have it. That's the first way to connect your Elgato to your TV. But of course, this is only one way you can connect the Elgato through your PlayStation and ultimately to your TV and computer. There is another way to do it. The method I've just shown you is using standard cables you get with the Elgato game capture itself. The next method is a little more technical. Well, not really technical, it's going outside of what you're supplied with. So if you want this setup, be prepared to spend a little bit of money. Nothing too expensive, but I'm showing you this so you can get the most out of your Elgato capture device. Now, the reason I showed you that first method was to show you the normal way of connecting the Elgato to your PlayStation and ultimately how to capture your gameplay. The reason why it's done that way is because Sony have put something onto the PlayStation 3 as well as the PlayStation 4, which is called HDCP, which is High Definition Copy Protection. Now, the reason why they put that on their consoles is anyone with a capture device, such as the Elgato, can essentially rip Blu-rays and basically commit piracy. That being said, I'm not condoning piracy by any means. I'm just showing you how to get the most out of your capture device for purposes of gameplay or possibly gathering review footage. Overall, like I say, there is another way to get the full 1080 out of your PlayStation to the capture device. And this is what I'm going to show you next. For this next method, of course, you're going to need your Elgato game capture, but you're also going to need at least 2 more HDMI cables for this setup, and you're also going to need one of these. Now, I know it says video converter on the box, but essentially what this is a HDMI splitter. Just pop it out of the box. There we go. Now, this little device right here is what we need to get the full 1080 visuals. Basically what these do is take the encoding from the HDMI from the PlayStation over into this, where it's essentially splits the protection off and allows you to get the full 1080 range on your console. But it's going to require a little bit of tweaking, not just in the setup, but also in the game capture software. So with all that out of the way, let me show you how to set this one up. So like before I set up the Elgato using the first method, I've set the PlayStation back to AVI output, HDMI output. Now what we want to do next is this. We're going to take our HDMI splitter. The one I have is a 1 to 2 HDMI splitter, so 1 input to 2 output. I'll pop a link in the description where I got mine. I'm not sure where else you'd be able to get in other countries like America. I'll try and find out if anyone's interested. Okay, the first thing we want to do is get the power supply connected. We're going to take the HDMI that's in the back of the PlayStation and we're going to pop it in the back of our splitter. Take this around and get the power supply plugged in. And that's the power supply hooked up to the splitter. Now this is where our other two HDMI come in. The first one I'm going to connect up is the one to the Elgato. So that's in. Oh, I've just made a goof. What have I done? Since my setup is kind of stupid, the other HDMI is going to be going from the PlayStation into the back, whereas this one is going to be going to the TV. You know, keeping it simple. Would have helped if I remembered that the first time. So there's our third one into the back of the TV. Well, not the TV, the PlayStation. Get it right, Mike. You freaking idiot. Okay, so that's everything all set up, ready to go. Now we turn on, power on. So hopefully after doing all of that, the Elgato and our little setup here will be working perfectly. It'll detect HDMI. Admittedly, I had to reset this because it didn't detect it at first. You may have to do that for your own. Sometimes, just a bit of nitty-gritty. So everything is working fan-bloody-tastic. Now, here is how we get our full 1080, because the software for Elgato does not come with a HDMI option for the PlayStation 3 console, so we're going to have to go a different route with it. But don't worry, I got you covered. So here we are back again in the Elgato Game Capture HD software. Now, unlike before, we've got nothing on our screen right here. It just says no signal. Now, as I said before, the reason for this is because the PlayStation doesn't have a HDMI option within the software, so we're going to have to get a little creative. So what we do is go here into settings. Now, what I found that worked for me was to go Xbox One. And click OK. So after changing that option, we wait a couple of seconds and boom, there we have it. And that is how you get your PlayStation and full 1080. Now, it's up to you if you want to go the full 60 frames or not. This is just the setup that's worked for me personally. So those are the two methods I use to connect my Elgato to my PlayStation. Personally, I prefer the HDMI option because you get the image depth, unlike with the D cable, where you do get the 920 by 1080 resolution, but again, you don't get that kind of quality you get with 1080. Hopefully this video has been of some help to you, some of you who are getting into doing a Let's Play channel or just collecting footage for game reviews and that sort of thing. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching this video, and like I said, for the stuff I got up, like my HDMI splitter, I'm going to put the link in the description if any of you are interested in grabbing that. I'll see if I can find links to find a similar HDMI splitter in other territories, if that helps my gaming brethren around the world. Just my little thing there. Okay, that's everything, so I'll see you next time. Later.